It's time for my second annual AppSumo Black Friday tier list. I'm going to be ranking every single tool that AppSumo released this year. In case you don't know, my name is Dave, and I review lifetime deals every single day of the week. Over the last week and a half or so, I've reviewed all 35 tools that AppSumo released. I've got full-length videos on many of them. Definitely go check out the links in the description for my complete AppSumo Black Friday coverage. The point of this video is to have a little bit of fun. We're wrapping things up with the deals, and I'm going to say a few words about each tool in case you haven't been able to follow along all that closely. You can get a clue for what I think were the best bets. Now, if you're familiar with my content, you might know I also score each tool 0 through 10. Today, I'm going to be focusing on the tier list ranking system where I'm comparing them to each other. So it's a little bit different of a scoring system. Keep that in mind as we go. Onward to the first deal, which is Albato. All right, Albato is a Zapier type application. However, it's much more technical and maybe a little bit more difficult to use than other tools of this ilk. It'll be really good for developers that want that extra power, but I think for the most of us, it's gonna be C tier. Next up, we got Afforai. This is an AI research assistant. It's meant mostly for academic researchers, but you could really organize any thoughts inside of Afforai. I think it's a pretty solid tool. It's not very feature rich, which is actually a benefit in my opinion. It's pretty focused on what it's doing. I'm gonna go ahead and give Afforai a B. All right, the next two tools are BHuman AI as well as BHuman Persona. And I found these two tools to be very, very difficult to use. I spent a lot of hours swearing at the computer trying to learn how to operate them. I'm going to place both of them in the D tier. These were definitely two of the worst tools that I reviewed throughout Black Friday. Hopefully they can improve because it just seemed like they were very inconsistent with whether or not they were functioning in that moment. Like there was actually a technical outage, but after talking to other BHuman users, they say it worked in the beginning like several years ago, but then it's just kind of been spotty ever since. So perhaps there is some kind of a technical issue in the background, but I can only go based on my experiences. So it's going to be D tier for both BHuman deals. Next up is Boost.Space. This is also kind of a Zapier type application. However, it does have storage in the middle in the form of its own database. So it's very unique in that respect. I also heard a rumor that it is basically funded or owned by the folks who own Make.com, which is why their integrations are so good. I'm going to go ahead and put Boost.Space at S tier. Now, Boost.Space is a technical tool. Like not everyone is just going to be able to pick it up and run with it, but for what it is extremely powerful and I like it quite a bit. I'm very bullish on Boost.Space. Next up is Brilliant Directories. Brilliant Directories is a website builder for directory websites. So if you want to build out a listing of plumbers in your area, or maybe a membership site for maybe caterers who are all getting together and sharing insider secrets, well, that would be the perfect case for something like Brilliant Directories. It is a little bit of a dated looking tool, but it's stylish and simple enough that I think the average person will be able to figure it out and not be off-put by the aesthetics. I'm gonna go ahead and put Brilliant Directories in the B tier. Next up, we've got DepositPhotos. I am going to go ahead and put this A tier. DepositPhotos is a classic. If you're an AppSumo fanatic, you've been using DepositPhotos for probably close to a decade at this point. It's a regular mainstay in their Black Friday celebration, and I can't think of Black Friday without DepositPhotos. Definitely very high quality stock photos. Even in the age of AI, I still think stock photos are superior to AI generation. I wouldn't hesitate to pick up a code of this just to keep you kicking for another year. Our next deal is ElementsKit. ElementsKit is a pack for Elementor WordPress websites. If you build out websites using WordPress and Elementor, ElementsKit might be something to look at. There are tons and tons of additional functionalities and designs that you can easily implement through ElementsKit, but I am a bit of a purist personally and probably would just utilize the built-in core blocks that come with Elementor first. Now, that's not to say there's not some cases where I would grab a pack like this, but I'd use it very sparingly, only turning on the modules that I need. So I'm gonna go ahead and place ElementsKit probably B tier. Next, we have Fable. This is a tool to allow you to record your screen inside of your browser, maybe set up a tutorial or a SOP for your company, and then have it automatically be documented. I love this concept, and I've tried several tools that do this. Fable to me was one that was a little bit on the less pleasing design-wise side. And normally if it's just me using it, I don't personally care about an ugly UI. But when it's something like designing a interactive guide for a user, it's got to look pretty good in order to keep their attention and just have that overall sensation of trust because, things look professional and modern. I think Fable falls a little bit short of this. I'm going to put it in the C tier, which I think could be a little bit of a controversial move. It's good, it's just not as good as I think it could be, and there's a competitor coming up. All right, one thing I did not expect this November was to review 4 cold outreach tools. The first one we're going to talk about in this video is GetSales. I found GetSales to be very, very powerful. It could do really nice LinkedIn automation, and it had a very nice B2B directory where you could find other leads that you didn't have to go out to LinkedIn for. So yeah, I like this probably the most out of any of the cold outreach tools that I tried. It's not quite S tier, but I will give it an A tier rating. Next up is Gumlet, and Gumlet is a video host. So you upload your videos to Gumlet, and then you can embed those videos on your online courses, on your website, things like that. They actually even have like full YouTube functionality built in where you can have your own channel hosted on Gumlet, complete with playlists and subscribe buttons. Pretty impressive. Now, the one thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way about Gumlet is they reserved 4K video for a higher end tier. I believe it was tier 3 and above. So with Gumlet, I think I'm going to have to give it, if it was a little bit more generous in the deal, it definitely would be A or maybe even S tier. But given the scenario, I'm going to keep it at B tier. I love the interface of Gumlet. If you're looking for a video host, I don't take this as a dig at them. You still should consider them, but just the terms could be a little bit, and I definitely don't want to be leading the parade of people saying that the terms need to be better. I think most of the time they're overly generous and we need to dial it back a little bit. But in the case of Gumlet, 4K video in 2024 should be the standard. That puts them at a B tier. All right, LaunchCart is next. LaunchCart is an e-commerce platform. I'm going to place this C tier. I love the fact that LaunchCart is lifetime and set up for agencies to have clients. It's really, really great there. It's got so many features, but one thing I just can't get over is kind of the look of it. And, if you're going to invest in a lifetime deal for something like e-commerce, I also feel like you're taking just a little bit of a risk. No offense to the LaunchCart guys, but what if you have live active e-commerce sites going and something happens to their business? I'm not sure I want to be in a situation where I don't either control my data or control the fact that, it's not with like a major provider, like a Shopify type of scenario. I'd want one of those two things. And because of that, LaunchCart has a ton of features. It's got everything that you'd want built in, which is very compelling. And it might actually push it up to B the more I talk it up. But those two things are huge red flags to me. The fact that, I don't own the website itself. So if something happened to them, I would be, hurting. And the fact that it's not a major established player. If it was one of those two things, I'd be okay. So yeah, I'm going to keep LaunchCart at C. Next up is LayerPath. LayerPath is a competitor to Fable. I was just mentioning a few minutes ago. LayerPath is a very, very strong contender in this field. In my opinion, it's much more aesthetically pleasing. I think the output is going to be superior. You can do things like AI voiceover, which I don't recall, but I don't think you can do in Fable. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that one. But yeah, I'm going to put LayerPath in A tier. There's just a few things I don't like about LayerPath. Like if you export a PDF, the color of the highlights in the PDF never update to your brand color. It's a little thing, but that's kind of irritating. There's also some weird inconsistencies with saving. Like sometimes it saves, but other times you lose some work. It's not all the time, and it's hard to reproduce even enough to report a bug, but there's just few little things in there that could be tweaked. Otherwise, it definitely would get S tier. Next up is Mailead. Mailead is another cold outreach tool, not too dissimilar to GetSales, which I talked about a few moments ago. But with Mailead, it is not a LinkedIn tool. Instead, it's focused just on cold email outreach. For that use case, it is a very, very good deal because of the limits. They're very generous limits. If you're doing cold outreach, you're going to need some kind of an automation tool. They typically cost anywhere from $49 to $99 per month per user. So to pick it up for a one-time fee is definitely a good option. I did hear after the fact that Mailead is actually made by the same team that does TaskMagic. They do TaskMagic. So they've actually embedded TaskMagic into the application. I didn't know that when I was trying it out. And I was like, that's kind of weird that they've just got TaskMagic here. You still had to pay for TaskMagic to unlock some of the higher tier things. But yeah, it was there. It was built in as kind of a little add-on. So that was nice. I'm going to go ahead and put Mailead at B tier. And to be clear here, if you're only doing email outreach, I would probably choose Mailead over GetSales between these two. But if you want LinkedIn, obviously you got to go with GetSales. All right, the next tool here is Merlin. This was a deal of the day, similar to LayerPath. I'm going to put Merlin in the A tier. I think Merlin was a fantastic tool. Honestly, when I first saw that, okay, they're putting out Merlin and I'm going to try it out and get going, I was kind of like, oh, another AI tool. It's going to be very, very similar to all of the other ones I've already tried. But I was very surprised with how much functionality they packed in. And then at the end, the little surprise and delights of how they added in all of the functionality right into the user interface of things like YouTube and Medium and LinkedIn and Twitter, so that you could actually really utilize AI in a very native feeling way, even though it wasn't native. I mean, it should just, if someone from any of those companies sees that implementation, should give them a little kick in the pants to want to build AI in at a application level, make it more organic with the way that we actually use the tools. So yeah, Merlin, very, very cool tool. Definitely wouldn't hesitate to recommend that if you're looking for a deal on a chatbot. So A tier for Merlin. All right, next I want to talk about Minvo, which is a tool that a lot of people told me that I was going to love, and it was going to be a perfect solution for taking long form content and cutting it down into shorts. And I would say that I did like it more than most, but I didn't find it as overwhelmingly amazing as maybe the hype had led me to believe it would be. I thought it did a pretty good job, but I think my problem is just the type of content that I create is not conducive to shorts. When we're doing screen recordings with the talking head, and then you just try to take that raw footage, like that edited video, I should say, not the raw footage, and put it right into a short, it's very hard. You're going to end up doing a lot of manual work. For my particular type of content, it's just going to be better to create that like on a nonlinear editor like a Final Cut or a Premiere or something like that. So that aside, my own biases aside, I do think Minvo was impressive. It looks like they're still building up some additional features such as the AI writer. That wasn't quite fully baked out. Like it tried to make an article and it was only 3 paragraphs where it just kind of puttered off at the end. It didn't complete a sentence. So I'm going to put Minvo as a solid B. I think that's a good score for it. NeuronWriter is next. This is an AI-assisted SEO tool. It helps you write content, make articles for SEO purposes. So there's been some confusion about, should I use a video to text generation tool or NeuronWriter, or should I combine them? If I did, which order should things come in? Well, in my opinion, NeuronWriter is going to be best after you've got some content kind of already fleshed out, or you're relying entirely on AI to do the writing itself. In that case, then you bring it into NeuronWriter and it just helps you with the semantics, getting the keywords right inside of the article itself, making sure that you got the right number of images and everything, and then you publish over to your CMS. So I think NeuronWriter is a very strong tool. A lot of people are utilizing it and it's continuing to grow and get better every day. So I'm going to go ahead and put NeuronWriter in A tier. This was an AppSumo community pick for the tool of the year last year, so it'd be kind of ridiculous for me to argue that it wasn't a good tool. Clearly it is. Nowa is our next tool. This is a no-code app generator. You can create an app right inside of Nowa and then publish it over to the iOS App Store or over to the Android Google Play Store. And you can even run it as a web app if you prefer. Now, Nowa is running Flutter under the hood, and if you use their desktop app, which is available in higher tiers, you can actually use Nowa right on your desktop and then generate Flutter files that you can use in other applications. Now, overall, I think it was a really good user experience. It's a complex app, right? So even though it's no code, it's not going to be no brainer. You're gonna have to put in some effort to actually make an app that does cool things with Nowa. But I think the one drawback to it is the fact that it's just not going to be native to any one platform. And for me, as a dedicated nerd, I enjoy a native Mac experience. I enjoy a native iOS experience. And with Nowa, I don't think you're ever going to get quite there. So I'm going to place Nowa. I think I'm going to give it C tier, but that's probably a little bit harsh. But just comparing it, remember, we're not relying on the score here. We're comparing it to all of the other tools inside of Black Friday. And so I think compared to the other ones, it just needs a little bit more design polish for it to really be into the B tier. All right, next up is NytroSEO. This is a very simple tool, pretty easy to understand. You install a little snippet of code on your website, and then Nitro can dynamically update the metadata on your post in order to optimize it for Google. So that's gonna be things like the description as well as the title of your post. Very, very simple in practice, but the fact they're able to pull it off is actually rather impressive. Now, my problem with Nowa is there's no way to actually hard code or write that information back into the website. I think if they figured that out somehow, it would be an absolute slam dunk. But something about it, I don't like dynamically or relying on a third-party script to provide something as simple as the title and description of my articles, which could be very critical when it comes to search engine ranking. So that alone makes me like Nitro, but not necessarily love it. What Nitro can do for you is basically alert you if there's a lot of pages that don't have titles and descriptions, and it can be a band-aid for a temporary solution, but I would still recommend figuring out what the heck is going on your site where you're not generating the proper metadata. There's a lot of ways to do that for just about any CMS. So that all said, I think Nitro still serves a purpose. I wouldn't rely on it permanently, but for those band-aid situations where you need to get some metadata up, I'm gonna put Nitro at a B tier. All right, our board is filling up here. We are running out of space in the B kind of middle of the road application. It's actually very evenly distributed. I'm kind of surprised by that. All right, we're gonna go to another email tool. This one is not for cold outreach, but it's just for your regular newsletters. This is ZooTools. Overall, this was one of the prettiest tools I reviewed all Black Friday, but it really fell down when it came to functionality. So for that, ZooTools is going to be a solid C tier. It's one to keep your eye on. If they add in the extra functionality, like they're clearly planning, but it's just not there yet, I think it'll be a really strong contender. All right, next up, let's talk about Trafft. Trafft is for booking appointments, but it's not your normal kind of Calendly discovery call type of appointment setter. Instead, Trafft is best for appointments that might be taking place in person or in groups, things like yoga classes, salons, music lessons, anything like that. A service-based industry would really benefit from Trafft. When you take that into consideration, if you run one of those types of businesses, Trafft is an absolute steal because the software for those industries can cost thousands of dollars per year. So I'd highly recommend looking into Trafft if you're currently using a solution like MindBody or Acuity Scheduling. Yeah, definitely consider Trafft. I was very impressed with it. It's going to get A tier. We were just talking about SEO a moment ago with NytroSEO. I'm going to go back to the SEO topic with Squirrly SEO. This is a WordPress plugin that allows you to do a whole bunch of normal SEO things for WordPress, like technical SEO improvements, but it also does a whole lot of other SEO improvements that you don't typically find in a WordPress plugin. And that's because it's got a lot of AI stuff under the hood. Now, my main gripe with Squirrly is the fact that it's kind of not all that easy or intuitive to use. You have to jump around menus a lot, and it's not really, like most SEO plugins are confusing on WordPress. I feel like Squirrly SEO is just like, hold my beer. We're going to really make this difficult to use. So while functionally very, very high quality, use-wise pretty difficult for the average person, I definitely am going to be putting Squirrly, if I can get my mouse working, I'm going to be putting Squirrly in the B tier. All right, earlier in this tier list, I mentioned TaskMagic. That is also actually one of the deals we need to discuss. TaskMagic is an automation tool, much like Albato, much like Boost.Space, but without the database component. Now, the secret sauce of TaskMagic is the fact that it's got keyboard and mouse control where you can actually automate movements and then reproduce those on your local machine. Now, unfortunately, when I reviewed TaskMagic, I didn't have access to an AppSumo plan. It wasn't available for sale at the time, so I had to rely on a free trial. In the free trial, one of the only features that is available is basically like their Zapier clone, which is an open source version of Active Pieces. However, Active Pieces is only available on the very high-end tiers of TaskMagic. Long story short, I ended up making a tutorial on one of the few features that most people will never get to use, which is unfortunate. However, I don't really have a lot else to say about TaskMagic other than that experience with that part of the tool. So I'm going to go ahead and put TaskMagic at C tier, but that's only because I'm a little bit resentful that they made their free trial be features that are restricted to AppSumo people. That's just I don't know. It's a weird move. Gotta admit, that's a little bit of a weird move. All right, next up is Remo. Remo is a virtual event tool that allows you to essentially set up like a skeuomorphic version of a conference hall or a coffee shop, and then invite people online for a video chat. But now you're kind of set in this scenario that you're both meeting at this virtual place. I equated it to, people who play Final Fantasy a lot, but they actually work at desk jobs. That's what it feels like when you look at the interface. Kind of cool, but also a little bit weird, right? Just a little bit strange. I am very surprised at how people went right from like online events are the future to now the pandemic is over and we never want to talk about online events again. I still think they're fairly common, but Remo for some reason was not as popular as I expected it to be. And I think the end of the event, around 2023 or so, probably it has something to do with it. I think it's a solid piece of software, but unfortunately, it just kind of missed its perfect window to really capture its use case. So I'm gonna give it B tier. All right, next up, let's talk about RealCraft. This is the tool that allows you to generate AI videos from a single prompt. It can also take your still photos and animate them. Overall, a very fun tool. It does create compelling outputs, but it is also gonna be a difficult thing. Like, you kind of have to have the right company to utilize this type of content. Like, if you're a very traditional values type of, established brand and you start putting out these AI videos, it won't feel connected to who you are as a enterprise. But if you're just trying to create some content to be online and maybe get some momentum going, well, then RealCraft is going to be a very compelling option. So I'm going to give RealCraft, let's go with B tier. B tier. Next up is VistaCreate. This is kind of like a Canva design type of tool. There's tons and tons of different templates. There's also a lot of stock photography and stock media that you can utilize. Overall, I think VistaCreate was kind of one of the surprise deals for me this Black Friday. I didn't expect it to be back as a lifetime deal. And the fact that it was only $79 for unlimited access, like you got access for teams, you got access to as many brands as you want. Yeah, VistaCreate, just based on value alone, is definitely S tier for me. If you need to create some simple graphics for social media and you're not a designer, there's absolutely no reason not to pick up VistaCreate. Next up is TidyCal. This is one of the only, I believe the only AppSumo original in Black Friday. So that means that AppSumo themselves make this tool. And the reason they're included in the Black Friday launch is they finally put out tier 2 of TidyCal, which includes teams. Very, very impressive. I think TidyCal is an S tier tool. It's as good as Calendly, if I'm being honest. Like, it literally does everything I would ever need Calendly to do. And it's like, if you got it during Black Friday, it was $29 for tier 1. And that's just for one person, but still, that's insane. I think the price has gone up to $39 now, but still very, very good deal. Highly reliable, very easy for customers to use and book. I've never had any complaints when I give someone my TidyCal link. So yeah, S tier, one of the best values on AppSumo for sure. And one more note just on TidyCal, like, this is the type of application where, let's say AppSumo discontinued it for some reason, which I don't think they ever would, but let's say they did. What ends up happening then? Well, I can sign up for Calendly in like a tenth of a second and have a new link that I can send out to schedule appointments. All of my data is stored on my calendar, right? So I'm not actually losing anything by using an LTD. This is the perfect scenario for LTDs. So I definitely would not pay monthly for a calendar booking appointment when there is great lifetime deal options out there. All right, next I want to talk about ZeroWork. This is another automation tool. Man, lots of automation tools this Black Friday. Another really, popular one. People like ZeroWork. I found it to be very fun and interactive to like figure out how to use it, but it's only going to be for the type of person who actually wants to scrape data and automate things like replying to comments on social media, which is going to shrink the audience pretty considerably. Do I think the average person should pick up ZeroWork and try to use it and find ways to implement into their business? Probably not. It's going to be for the hardcore people that are interested in scraping, maybe newer to it, but are hungry for data. They have a plan for how they're going to grow their business with data. Those people are going to really grow with ZeroWork. So for me, that puts it pretty solidly in the B tier. It can't really get any higher than that because just honestly, most people shouldn't have it. So yeah, I mean, that's as good as it's going to get. I've had pushback on my scoring system because I say similar things like 9 out of 10. That's going to be a tool that like literally everyone should be able to use. And that's how I score things. And the beautiful thing about this It's my channel, so I get to make the scoring system. But highly encourage you guys to make your own scoring system. In fact, that's the perfect segue that I'm publishing this template. So you'll have all of the AppSumo icons, all of the deals that are available. You can make your own tier list, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, tag me, tag AppSumo, let them know that I sent you. That'll be a lot of fun. I want to see how you rank these deals. By the way, you don't have to do every single one. You can do the ones that you're familiar with. That's totally fine. Then go ahead and publish it. I'm excited to see your tier list. I'll link to that in the description. All right, only 7 deals left, which is hard to believe, although we have gone through so many already. I can't believe I've tried all these tools, to be quite frank. Now let's go over to Eurekaa. Eurekaa is a tool to research online courses. So if you want to begin selling online courses, you're trying to get ideas for them, or perhaps you are a serial online course creator and you want a little assistance with the research and outlining process, Eurekaa is going to be a good bet for you. But for the rest of us, kind of like what I was saying with ZeroWork, if you just want to create maybe a single online course, Eurekaa is really overkill. You don't need a tool like that. It's really meant for people who are creating multiple courses or are just struggling to get started and would really benefit from the structure that Eurekaa provides. So I think I'm going to put Eurekaa also B tier. I know that's filling up. It's got almost twice, it has twice as much as any other tier, but I think it's fair. Like none of the tools, okay, most of the tools, except for maybe the BHuman ones, which I could not get to work properly, everything else was like good. Like I see some of the comments about people being mad about the low quality tools, and it's like, did you try them? Because no, I can't try any of these tools and say like that they're garbage. They're not. These are all very good tools, assuming that they're functioning properly. Yeah, I think that type of reaction, I just don't have a ton of patience for, quite frankly, because it just feels like you haven't given it a shot, or your expectations are out of touch with reality of where software is today. So yeah, kudos to AppSumo on this Black Friday. A ton of amazing deals available. All right, next up is OneTake. This is a tool where you can go ahead and record a video, and it's going to basically do all of the post-production for you. These types of tools are always very exciting in terms of where technology is going, but they don't actually live up to the point where I feel like they could completely replace a real editor at this point. So I'm gonna put OneTake. I think it's got to be C tier. It just went into the B tier, but I'm gonna give it C tier here. It's a good tool. It probably borders between B and C, but given that B is kind of, I think, a pretty high caliber right now, I think OneTake is probably just a slight notch below it. All right, the next tool I want to talk about is PressRanger. PressRanger, I'm going to just solidly place right up here in A tier. This is a really high quality tool. It's very helpful. It solves a problem that you have that you're not even aware of or taking advantage of right now, which is just getting more attention on your business. And it really doesn't matter what kind of business you have. Getting more eyeballs on you is going to be a good thing. And PressRanger can help you solve that. It can help you draft press releases, and if you even pay a little bit of money extra, it can get you placed with publications. It can help you find podcast spots. Yeah, overall, I think more companies should be using a tool like PressRanger rather than relying on things like cold email. I mean, not that you have to ignore these tactics, but I think you'd have a better chance of succeeding with cold email if you already had a good public reputation by putting out PRs, or by putting out press releases, by appearing on podcasts, by getting your name in mainstream press, and then you do the cold outreach. Well, now you're going to be a lot more successful because people will have heard of you before, and it doesn't just feel like a scam. So yeah, start off by just getting your name out there. Not a bad plan. All right, we got VideoTap next. I'm throwing this in S tier. VideoTap was highly impressive. I did not see this one coming. I had heard of it before, but I never tried it, and I was blown away at the quality of the output. Very, very high quality, and it just, without asking, produced so many different forms of content. So the idea here is you give it a video, and then it transforms that into text. But it'll also give you social media. It'll give you post excerpts. It'll give you the metadata. It'll give you everything you need to actually go ahead and take your video and repurpose it into other content. It'll even give you clips like Minvo did. Probably not as good a quality as Minvo, and Minvo had better editing if you needed to like reframe something. But it was really, I mean, it was good. Let's just put it that way. I was very impressed. Next up is SuperCopy. SuperCopy is a way to use AI to write marketing copy for your business. I really like SuperCopy. It had this nice idea of where we're going to go out and learn about your company. We're going to learn about your goals. And then from there, we'll actually craft the marketing copy around it rather than needing with each prompt to describe, here's my business, here's the type of customer we're going after. You just kind of stored that. And anytime you wanted to go ahead and generate some new marketing copy, you could choose the persona that you wanted, the product that you were trying to sell, and then it would run with that information. Very, very unique idea. And I thought a good implementation of AI that I had not seen done exactly like that in the past. So SuperCopy is also going to be A tier. All right, only 2 deals left. Is there going to be any more S tier? We'll have to wait and see. Next up is Thoughtly. Thoughtly was the surprise of the show for sure for me for the Black Friday season. Now, that doesn't mean I think it was the best deal. It was just, I didn't see an AI agent coming that could actually make real phone calls. And that's what Thoughtly does. You train it on some data. And then when you make a phone call, it can answer or it can call out as well. And it can basically interact with another human having been trained on that data. Really amazing demonstration of technology. Now, I'm going to place this so I don't have to hold my mouse here because the whole interface is breaking from having so many images. I'm going to put Thoughtly. Thoughtly's a B. Now, here's the thing with Thoughtly. Thoughtly is an amazing demonstration of technology that you probably shouldn't roll out in your business quite yet. It's still so early. And yeah, it's kind of expensive. Like there's a lot of complaints about the tiers being limited, and now they've adjusted them, by the way. So since you've seen my video, go back and check the AppSumo deal page. They've actually rerouted things. So the higher end tiers are going to go to a higher plan. But it's, non-refundable, I assume, because there's probably a lot of expense with just setting this stuff up. They don't want people just buying codes, trying it, and then returning it. That it is like a demonstration of the future. It's like where we're going to go. You can imagine a world where every phone that Google sells, every phone that Apple sells has this built in, and our AI agents are just conversing with each other, and we get to live our peaceful life. Fingers crossed. That could literally be a thing in not too distant future. To play with that right now for your business is really cool, but also a bit risky. I don't know that I want like customers. You have to say like, this is our AI chatbot. You can call it on the phone. You wouldn't want to be like, yeah, just one day your phones are answered by AI and they like, what's going on? Where's the receptionist I'm used to talking to? So definitely check out Thoughtly just for the pure joy of technology and seeing where this stuff is going. It's worth it. All right, our last deal is in fact the last tool that I published. It is Straico. This is an AI chatbot. It lets you use 4 LLMs at the exact same time. I just produced a full-length video on this today. So I'm going to go ahead and put Straico straight away in the B tier. All right, so that is our final tier. I thought Straico was a great product. It's going to definitely rank a little bit below Merlin in my eyes, but it does have different strengths and weaknesses as I outlined in that video. So go check that out if you want to know more. But yeah, wow, what a great Black Friday. Thank you to AppSumo for making all of this possible. And last year I did this tier list, but I had not tried all of them. I just mostly kind of giving you my gut instinct and what I thought of the tools on the surface. And this year to really spend like the last 2 weeks just trying out these tools so I could help you guys make the best buying decisions has been a lot of fun. It's been a great Black Friday for me, and I couldn't have done it without you guys, the viewers. So thank you very much for supporting this channel, leaving me those comments, clicking the like button. It definitely has helped growing the channel over the last few months. So couldn't do it without you. Thank you very much. It's going to do it for this tier list. I'll see you next year for another tier list, but you know what? I'll be back again on Monday with more LTD content. So see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.